Joining us with more, Counselor to the President, Alina Habba. Let's start with those two. Well, good to have you, by the way. Let's start with those last two items. It's interesting because the president gets elected to do a job. I think there are 40 lawsuits in total out there against Donald Trump and the administration so far. But I believe the courts, as part of the executive branch, he has the authority to do everything he's doing. Your reaction to the first two court decisions?
Well, first of all, absolutely, he has the authority to do what he's doing. As we've seen yesterday, we had momentum where we were giving people money to walk away if you don't want to come to work. Imagine that. And we'll pay you till October. Imagine that. But they tried to stop it. Sean, we know what's going on here. It's very simple. It's the same thing that's been happening for the last 3.5 years. They're panicking, and the only thing they do is go to radical left judges that want to make a name for themselves to stop the executive branch for doing exactly what was mandated to do on November 5th when we swept the nation. It's absolutely ridiculous. And frankly, this is all over everything. I was discussing this actually with Elon, and I said, you know, for all the money you've saved this country, perhaps we should also have a ticker for every case that they're going to bring. It's going to go up while this one goes down, because that's what they do. If we want to save money, people are going to get upset. Why are they getting upset? Because we're taking money out of their pockets. The best thing that Elon Musk is going to do is going to look at people's salaries and say, okay, if you make X amount of money and you're worth $68 million, we're going to look at why that is. And that's really the bottom line, because we could talk about everything, every executive order, but there is a panic in D.C. at this moment where I now live, and it is very simple. We are cutting them off from their funding. And that means politicians, not just saving taxpayer dollars. And that's where the panic is coming from. It's pretty basic.
Look, obviously, if you're friends with Donald Trump, you're going to be hated. All right, so we'll check that box on the Elon Musk side. But correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he the guy that offered Starlink when people in North Carolina had no communication with the outside world, and he donated that? Didn't he offer the same thing to the people of California? Yeah. Don't we have 2 astronauts that have been pretty much lost in space or abandoned now for nearly 300 days, and our government can't save them, so he's going to go rescue them? You know, and he's cutting out all of this waste. Well, why would you hate somebody like that?
It's so
I'm
basic.
grateful.
You know what? It's very basic. Let's think about this. In our administration, we have a tremendous amount of billionaires who are successful businessmen. And I could name them all, but we know who they are, who have taken a leave, sold their companies, walked away from their lives to sacrifice to help America be great again. There are many, many. Now, Elon's become a target for one very simple reason, because he is cutting the funding to these politicians who have put their bureaucratic, personal financial gain and interest above the American people. That is the difference. That may not be felt by some of the other people that are in the administration that have done the same thing that Elon does, that are incredibly successful billionaires. But they are targeting him because he is cutting their lifeline, their financial. Listen, Nancy made how much money? And we're going to go down the line of looking at all these people. There is no reason, as a federal employee, me included, I shouldn't walk out richer from the federal government. That should not be the case.
No,
and I open you up to look, because it's not going to happen. You don't do it. You
would make a lot more in the private sector. Elon Musk will probably make a lot 100%. Less, although, you know, when you have that kind of money, that money makes enough money, you know, on its own, in a sense, even if you put it in a treasury at 5%, not a bad deal. And the president doesn't take a paycheck. He's losing money. People are in this to serve their country. I would argue almost everybody that you see every day in that White House is not making money.
I do. You're right. We don't. And the only reason they're screaming about Elon, it's very simple. Nobody has said it yet, and I'm going to say it. It's because they're hitting their pockets. Only reason they're screaming about Elon. They're not screaming about Howard Lutnick. They're not screaming about Bergam. They're not screaming about those billionaires. They're screaming about him. And that's because he's going in and hitting where it hurts. So you know what happens when you scream and when you sing songs outside at a rally, which, by the way, what are you doing on the American taxpayer dollars, creating songs against the Republican Party? It's bizarre. But when you're doing things like that, that says to me one very simple thing. We have hit your Achilles heel, and we will continue to hit you. We will look at why our children are not educated. We will look at why our children have an increase in ADHD. We will look at why our borders are not safe, why our security is crazy, and why there is fentanyl crisis right now in our country like we have never seen, because illegal immigrants were supposed to come in and vote for Kamala Harris, but it didn't work out for them. So they are panicking. And Elon may be triggering just a little bit of insecurity, which is that they are worried about us looking at exactly what they've done and exactly how much they've made. And that is now stopping. And it's a panic. It's very simple.
There's a panic on their part. I think a lot of Americans, the average American making 66 grand a year, when they see all this waste, fraud, and abuse, are going to, and they understand it more, they'll be cheering. Alina Habba, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you.